You ever feel like you're stuck in a self-improvement hamster wheel? You try something new, you're all in, and then you just end up right back where you started. Well, you are not alone. Today, we're going to talk about a concept called cognitive refactoring. It's all about why that happens and, more importantly, how to finally break that frustrating cycle for good. This quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? We see a problem, a little crack in our habits, and we slap a patch on it. Maybe it's a new self-help book or some billionaire's morning routine, but we're just patching the cracks while the whole building, the foundation itself, is still crumbling. And a system always crashes, right? You get that initial burst of hope, things are great for a few days, maybe a week, and then, poof, it all falls apart. So what is going on here? Why do our best efforts seem to fizzle out every single time?
Well, let's actually give this whole frustrating experience a name. We're going to call it the self-help crash loop, because once you can name the pattern, that's the very first step to actually breaking free from it.
I bet this looks incredibly familiar. Step 1, you try a new habit, like waking up at 5 a.m. Step 2, you feel that surge of hope. This is it. This is the one. Then step 3 happens. This system crashes. You oversleep just once, and boom, step 4, you're right back at square one, feeling totally defeated. And honestly, this is the worst part of it all. It's not just that the habit didn't work out, it's that every time this happens, it reinforces this awful belief that we're the problem. Each spin on this wheel leaves you feeling like a bigger failure. But what if you're not? And that brings us to the real diagnosis. See, the problem isn't your willpower. It's not the habit you chose. The real issue is the underlying system you're trying to run everything on. Okay, think of your mind like a computer's operating system, right? It was programmed a long, long time ago based on old experiences, beliefs you picked up as a kid, you name it. And that old code is full of bugs, security holes like self-doubt, and tons of junk code, these limiting beliefs that are just taking up space. So here's the fundamental conflict. Your new ambition, your new goal. That's like shiny new 2026 software, but you're trying to install it on an old, obsolete operating system. It's not compatible. The system isn't just crashing by accident, it's practically designed to crash. So, if patching the cracks is a dead end, what's the real solution? Well, it's time to stop thinking like a mason and start thinking like a software engineer. It is time for a total refactor. And let's be absolutely clear here. This is not about finding a better productivity hack or some hollow inspirational quote to stick on your wall. Those are just more patches. The real solution has to be deeper, more fundamental, and believe me, it is way more effective. This is the big idea. Cognitive refactoring. It means you actually go into your mental source code, your core beliefs, your automatic thought patterns, and you start strategically rewriting it. It's not about changing what's on the surface. It's about rebuilding the entire architecture so it can actually support the person you're trying to become. I mean, just look at the difference here. It is night and day. Patching the surface gets you temporary fixes. It treats symptoms, and it keeps you stuck in that frustrating cycle. But rebuilding the core, that's about lasting change. It addresses the root cause through strategic reengineering. It's the difference between being a repairman for your mind and being the architect. Now we're getting to what might be the most powerful part of this whole concept. How do we even begin to refactor? Well, it all starts with a huge shift in perspective about the very flaws we've been trying to fix all this time. Just take a second and really let this sink in. What if your biggest problems, the things you have spent your entire life trying to fix about yourself, what if they aren't actually problems at all? The old mindset, the one we're all used to, sees your unique way of thinking, your quirks, as a logic error. It's a bug that needs to be fixed. But the new mindset, the refactored one, redefines that exact same difference as a premium feature. It's a unique, powerful part of your personal design. Think about it. Maybe your so-called distractibility is actually a high-powered creative engine. Maybe what you call sensitivity is actually a super advanced empathy tool. These aren't errors. They're powerful features that you just haven't learned how to configure and use properly yet. And honestly, just understanding the shift from seeing a bug to seeing a feature, from patching to rebuilding, that is your first and most important step. It's the moment you stop fighting against your own operating system and you start working with it. So, I'll leave you with this question. What's that one thing about yourself that you've always been trying to fix? Now, what if you looked at it not as a flaw, but as a premium feature?
What's the first feature of your own personal operating system that you're going to start learning how to configure today?
All right, let's dive in. We're going to talk about something I think a lot of you feel, that constant, unshakable exhaustion. And I'll tell you right now, the reason you feel so tired, it's got nothing to do with being lazy. I promise.
So let me ask you something. Does this sound familiar? You get to the end of the day, a day where you've basically done nothing. No crazy meetings, no heavy lifting, and you're just completely, totally drained. Yeah? If that's hitting home, you're going to want to stick around for this. Okay, first things first, let's get something straight. That feeling of being so tired, it is not a personal failure. It's not about a lack of willpower, it's actually a feature of what the source material calls a high-resolution mind. Think of highly sensitive people or polymaths. These are minds that they're wired to see and process so much more. And that right there brings us to the core idea for today. We're calling it the mind's spaghetti code. It's the reason why your brain feels so incredibly cluttered all the time. So, if you know anything about programming, you know that spaghetti code is just a tangled, chaotic mess. Well, in your mind, it's pretty much the exact same thing. It's this huge mass of unstructured, uncategorized data. I'm talking about every sight, every sound, every little thought your brain gathers up, but hasn't had a chance to file away properly. It's just sitting there in a giant pile. And for those of you with these high-resolution minds, listen, we're not talking about a little bit of extra data here. We are talking about processing up to 10 times more information than the average person. Think about that for a second. 10 times more. Is it any wonder things get so tangled up in there? Okay, so all that messy spaghetti code, it doesn't just sit there harmlessly. Nope. Over time, it starts to create a much, much bigger problem. And this is what we call accruing technical debt. And believe me, it comes with a hidden cost that is incredibly high. So what is mental technical debt? Well, it is all that unprocessed spaghetti code. It's all those unresolved thoughts, those old beliefs that you're not even actively thinking about, but they are constantly running. They're like these hidden apps on your phone, just chugging away in the background, silently draining your mental battery. And look, this isn't some abstract theoretical idea. Think about your own life. This technical debt, it's the unresolved traumas, big or small, they all count. It's those unfinished conversations you just keep replaying over and over in your head. And this is a big one. It's those limiting beliefs that got installed in your brain way, way back in your childhood. So what happens when all this debt just keeps piling up, day after day, year after year? Well, eventually you hit a state of permanent system overload. And this is the point where you're not just tired sometimes. You are fundamentally, completely running on empty all the time. Let's use a computer analogy. Think of your brain's processing power as its RAM, right? It's short-term memory. Now, when that RAM gets clogged with all this technical debt, a staggering, and I mean staggering, 80% of your mental energy can get wasted just running these useless anxiety loops in the background. What does that leave you with? A tiny 20% for actual focus, for your work, for your family, for actually living your life. So I really want you to hear this. Let's reframe this whole thing once and for all. Your exhaustion, it is not laziness. It is a system collapse. It is not a lack of willpower. It's an overloaded architecture, a system that just can't handle the sheer amount of data it's being fed in the present moment anymore. And that right there, that is the core reason you feel so completely depleted by the time the evening rolls around. It honestly doesn't matter what you did all day. You could have conquered the world, or you could have just sat on the couch. Because your brain's background processes have been running at full throttle nonstop, and by the end of the day, the system is it's out of resources. The tank is empty. Okay, so if the system is overloaded and the whole architecture is failing, what on earth do we do about it? We obviously can't just ignore it. It is time to debug. And I want to be clear, this isn't just, a good idea. It is the only real way forward. There's this quote from the source material that just hits the nail on the head. It says that all your self-improvement efforts, they're like trying to install shiny new software on a computer that has a failing hard drive. It's not going to work. It can't. So the key takeaway here, the big idea is this. Before you can build anything new, you have to repair what's broken. You absolutely have to go in and start debugging your own mind. You've got to clear out all that technical debt that has been slowing you down for years. That is job number one.
And so all of this leaves us with one last, very personal question for you to think about. When you really look at your own mental operating system, with all its tangled code and background processes, what's the very first bug that you need to fix?
Ever feel like you wish you could just update your own mental operating system? Well, that's pretty much the core idea behind what we're talking about today, the refactoring protocol. And it's not about changing who you are at your core, but about re-architecting your internal world so it runs at peak performance. And this right here, this is the heart of it all. It starts from a place of total validation. The core belief is that if your mind works a little differently, you're not broken. You're just running on a highly advanced operating system that, just needs a few optimizations, not a total reinstall. Okay, so look at this. It's like the perfect before and after picture for your mind. On the left, you've got the burden, a state I think a lot of us know all too well, right? Mental bugs causing crashes, the constant overwhelming noise of the world, and just that feeling of constant effort it takes to get through the day. But the goal, what we're aiming for, is on the right. A new architecture, one that's built for peak efficiency, has a super sharp filter for what actually matters, and where success, well, it just becomes the inevitable output.
All right, so here's our game plan for breaking this all down. First, we're going to reframe the way you see your mind as a powerful OS. Then we'll walk through the 3 core steps: modularizing your threads, clearing out technical debt, and optimizing your signal. And finally, we'll look at what happens when success stops being a struggle and starts being your system's natural output.
So let's get this straight right from the start. Your mind, especially an atypical one, isn't just a regular computer. It's an incredibly powerful OS. And those things you might have always thought of as bugs, like maybe high sensitivity or having a ton of different passions, well, it turns out they're not bugs at all. They're high-end features, just waiting to be used correctly. See, this whole protocol works with your nature, not against it. It doesn't try to delete your core programming. Nope. Instead, it's all about rearranging that internal structure so your natural strengths can finally operate at their highest capacity and really unlock their full potential.
Okay, step 1 in this whole process is something called cognitive modularization. Now I know, it sounds like a real mouthful, but stick with me. The idea is actually borrowed from high-performance computing, and it's all about separating your internal processes so they stop tripping over each other.
So in practice, what does this actually mean? It means learning to untangle your emotional processing from your task execution. Imagine them as 2 completely separate apps running on your computer. When they get all tangled up, a little glitch in the emotion app can cause your whole system to just freeze up.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever had one of those moments where just a wave of anxiety or frustration completely torpedoes your productivity for the entire day? Yeah? That's it. That is a perfect example of a system-wide crash caused by a lack of modularization. And this quote just nails it. A bug, like a weird conversation or feeling misunderstood, that should be contained. It shouldn't be allowed to spread and bring down your entire performance module. By separating these threads, you contain the damage and keep the rest of your system running nice and smooth.
All right, once we've got our threads separated, it's time for step 2, clearing out what's called technical debt. In the world of software, technical debt is all the old, clunky code that just slows everything down. In Armand's, it's all the mental clutter that's draining our energy.
We're talking about all those useless programs running in the background of your mind. You know the ones. Replaying old arguments, worrying about stuff you can't control, or just those endless loops of self-criticism. All of these things consume precious processing power, or what we might call mental RAM. So how do we fix it? It's a pretty straightforward 2-step approach. First, you use specific techniques, a lot of them backed by neuroscience, to pinpoint exactly which background processes are eating up your resources. And then, you execute the protocols to terminate them. The result is a massive freeing up of mental RAM that you can redirect towards what you actually want to achieve.
And now for the final and maybe the most critical step for living in today's world, signal optimization. This is all about managing that overwhelming flood of information we face every single day by installing a seriously high-value filter.
It really boils down to this, doesn't it? Cutting through all the static, all the noise, all the distractions, to find that one clear, high-fidelity signal. It's about stopping the constant reaction to everything and starting to respond only to what truly, truly matters.
Signal optimization means you're deliberately creating a sharp mental filter. In a world just saturated with low-res noise, a mind that processes things deeply has to be ruthless about its inputs. It's about learning to only let in the high-value 8K data, the kind of information that actually nourishes you and moves you closer to your goals.
So, what happens when you actually do all this? When you modularize, clear the debt, and optimize your signal? Well, you don't just feel a little better. You get a completely new system architecture. And this is where everything changes.
You know that sensitivity you might have always thought was a weakness? It gets reframed. It's no longer a burden. It's your most powerful tool. It becomes a high-resolution sensor, capable of picking up on nuances and patterns and opportunities that literally everyone else misses. And all those passions that maybe made you feel scattered and unfocused, they stop being a liability and become the very core of your central processor. They're what allows you to connect totally different ideas and create unique value that no single-focus specialist could ever dream of.
I mean, this is the ultimate payoff. When your internal OS is finally updated, you stop chasing success. You stop striving for it. It just becomes the natural, inevitable output of a system that's designed for efficiency and clarity. It's just what the system does. So the key takeaway here is that you can do this. The power is completely in your hands. The protocol gives you the blueprints and the execution steps. This isn't just some abstract theory. It's a practical guide to literally re-architecting your reality from the inside out.
And that leaves us with one final question. With this new way of seeing your mind, not as something fixed, but as a powerful, reconfigurable system, what reality will you architect? What becomes possible when your mind is no longer your burden, but your single greatest asset?
Hey, I'm your advisor, and this is Atypical Mind Architect. Our whole mission here is to help you reframe the things that make you different and turn them into your greatest strengths. Okay, let's jump right in. Your first and honestly most critical mindset update is ready to go. And we're not waiting. Consider this installation live, right now. So, let's do a quick diagnostic, you and me. Are you running on some kind of legacy code? You know, is that little voice in your head constantly blaming you for the very flaws that actually make you who you are? Yeah, it is time to shut that program down for good. Your refactoring journey, that big fundamental rewrite of your own internal code, it starts today. This all begins by installing a totally new framework. I want you to stop seeing your mind as some broken machine that needs fixing. It's not. See it for what it really is, a complex, powerful codebase that just needs to be optimized. So what does this upgrade actually look like in practice? Well, where that old legacy mindset flagged a logic error, we now see premium architecture. That constant nagging feeling that you need fixing, that gets replaced by a new challenge. You need mastering. And that relentless pressure from the outside to just be normal, we're overriding that with a new core command: be uniquely you. And listen, if you only remember one thing from this, let it be this. This is the single most important line of code in the entire update. Your differences are not a logic error that needs to be fixed. It is a gift. And it's way more than just a gift. It's a high-performance system, a premium architecture, totally unique and powerful, just waiting for its primary user. And yep, that's you, to learn its commands and truly master what it can do. So here it is, your execution protocol. First, you've got to admit your difference is a gift. Really own it. Second, stop treating it like a logic error. Find that old buggy code in your head and just delete it. And third, start actively building your unique cognitive power. This is where the real work, the fun work, begins. But I've got to give you a warning. External systems are going to challenge this update. Think about it. Does that pressure to conform, to fit in, ever feel like it's forcing you to throttle your own processing power? To shrink your mental bandwidth just to fit inside someone else's box?
Don't you let it. You need to establish a firewall. Protect your bandwidth, because it is your most valuable asset.
Because the whole point of this refactoring journey is to build a cognitive architecture that is sharp, powerful, and 100% uniquely yours. We're building a custom rig here, not some generic off-the-shelf copy.
And you know what? Just by committing to this new perspective, you've already kickstarted the change. Update 1.0 installation is complete.
But hey, this is just the foundational layer. This system update is an ongoing process. And queued up next is a critical module, an application that could seriously revolutionize your professional life, the M-shaped blueprint for your career. So, are you ready to continue the update? The protocol is simple. 1. Hit that subscribe button now. 2. That's how you'll download the next set of execution protocols. And 3. You'll join a whole community of mind architects who are on this exact same journey.
You've got a new architecture, a powerful new operating system, but you have to remember, the system is awaiting your command. I'm your advisor. I'll see you in the next update.